proposes to convert NHIF into a national health scheme and make it mandatory for Kenyans 18 years and above to contribute to the fund is currently before Parliament. The NHIF amendment bill is now receiving some resistance from workers' organizations. The Central Organization of Trade Unions say it is totally opposed to the proposed changes. In a letter wired to newsrooms, COTU and its affiliates unions says changing NHIF from a fund to a scheme and by large changing the mandate and objective of the NHIF is against the wishes of Kenyan workers who are the contributing members of NHIF. The letter further reads, and I quote, "What is it that the bill wants NHIF to do with the money they are seeking to collect from any Kenyan above the age of 18 years that they have been unable to do with the money contributed by the over 8 million NHIF contributing members?" COTU has warned that the government is seeking to coerce Kenyans to contribute towards NHIF without assuring them reliable services and transparency in the fund, saying it was wrong to coerce Kenyans to contribute to any scheme. The Workers' Union has emphasized accountability of the fund, adding that any attempts to disband the NHIF, as envisaged in the proposed amendments, will leave COTU with no other option but to pull out of the scheme and re-establish and retain its own fund run by workers. In the proposed radical amendments introduced in the National Assembly by Majority Leader Amos Kemunya, the bill seeks to convert NHIF into a national health scheme and make it mandatory for Kenyans to contribute to the fund, while removing voluntary contribution provisions where the unemployed and self-employed adults will make an annual compulsory contribution of 6,000 to NHIF. In the proposed changes, employers whose employees contribute to NHIF will match workers' monthly contributions. The proposal further says, in the monthly contributions, the employer shall not deduct such contribution from the salary or other remuneration of the employee. On this, COTU says the management of NHIF did not conduct any proper public participation and stakeholder engagement to get views from both worker and employers as required. Should the bill's proposals be adopted, NHIF will have annual collection of more than 100 billion shillings. Daniel Kariuki, KTN News.
And definitely, even the Federation of Kenya's Employers has joined also COTU in just trying to question why that bill is being pushed in terms of ensuring that it's implemented. Members of Parliament approve it, saying that it will affect also employers in terms of contribution. But then let me bring in Eric Odwor, who is the General Secretary of the Kenya Union of Journalists, who are a part of umbrella of the COTU body. And thank you so much, Mr. Odwor, for talking to us here on KTN News Center this morning. So what is the stand of the KUJ when it comes to this proposal of the NHIF? Because we know that COTU and its 45 affiliates have rejected the NHIF Bill 2021 in totality, saying it is retrogressive.
Yeah, thank you so much for hosting me so that we're able to put into perspective why the workers' representatives are opposed to the proposed amendments to the NHIF. And like it has been stated, is that the body or the scheme that the government is going to establish actually is an amorphous organization that the government intends to form from the amendments, because totally it's going to overhaul NHIF as we know it right now. And we know that NHIF, the objectives are very clear. This is a contributory fund whereby members who are workers contribute their money every month, and the highest actually is 1,700 every month. That actually goes to this fund. Now the government has seen low-hanging fruits here in the name of workers' contribution, and the government now wants to convert this into a body that actually nobody knows how it's going to look like. And our fear as workers' representatives and as COTU is that when we allow that scheme that the government intends to establish, workers, first of all, we are going to lose our funds to that body, because we do not know how that body is going to be managed. Number two, NHIF has actually suffered as a result of interference from the government, and NHIF has actually been used as a campaign financing institution. So the government actually, like I've said earlier, has just seen low-hanging fruits where there is some easy money that it will be able to siphon out of that fund in the name of financing healthcare for the vulnerable. Yes.
And you know, that is the same question that Kenyans are asking, the concerns that you've raised, because some feel like we've been contributing to the NHIF, but you've not been getting any benefit in terms of the services, health services that we require from the NHIF.
Exactly. We know, and actually it's a public domain, that in Kenya we lose 2 billion every day to corruption. And if you look at what is happening in NHIF right now, NHIF has not been able actually to pay some of the hospitals for the services they have rendered to contributors. And that is why Kenyans are saying that they don't see what they are benefiting from NHIF, because you go to the hospital and you are told that your card has been suspended because probably NHIF has not been remitting money to the accredited hospitals. And they came up with this issue of capping, whereby you are going to a hospital that you choose, and sometimes you go to that hospital and you are not able to get the services you are looking for, and therefore it becomes difficult for you to get a referral. So basically that's what Kenyans are saying, that instead of the government coming up with a scheme to probably see the workers lose their money, let them transform NHIF in terms of improving its governance, because the governance problems at NHIF are actually instigated by interference from the Ministry of Health and other senior government officials. And that's how NHIF actually is losing money and is not able to meet its obligation by remitting money to the hospitals that have already rendered services to contributing members.
All right. But then, you know, yesterday when I had the president address the nation during the National Prayer Breakfast Day at the Parliament buildings, he urged members of Parliament to hasten the passage of the NHIF, of the amendment bill, the NHIF Amendment Bill 2021, because it's his kin towards administration to the bolster of the Big Four agenda, which talks about the universal health coverage.
Exactly. The president may mean well for this country, whereby he is trying to finance and ensure that we have universal health coverage like other countries. But I hope someone will take him through the bill as it has been proposed. He will realize that actually that bill is not going to realize the dreams that he has for this country of having universal health coverage, because universal health coverage, according to WHO, is that should allow any member of the society to have access to medical facility and get that medical care. But if you look at that bill the way it is, first of all, it actually is going to commercialize the provision of health services, because if you compare...
but I've actually looked at this bill and some sections, actually what is rubbing Kenyans the wrong way, because currently as you speak, Oduor, truth be told, it's in the public domain. It's a voluntary process. The NHIF contribution is voluntary. But right now we are being told it is a must for every household to pay 6,000 shillings every year for the NHIF contribution. So that means they're removing that, you know, voluntary, the contribution voluntary part of it, and it will be a must, which begs the question, you know, Kenyans are feeling the effect of the pandemic.
Exactly. And if you look at, like I'm saying, that the president wants to extend an universal health coverage so that every Kenyan is able to access medical care. But if you look at other countries where this actually universal health coverage has actually succeeded, it has not been done the way our government wants to do it. It is done by the way of the government actually investing heavily in the health sector, first of all, by ensuring that all the health facilities actually are working and operational, so that you can walk in and get the service you are looking for. For example, you start at the community level, because that is where the majority of vulnerable Kenyans are. So you make sure that at that community level where there is a health center, that health center has got doctors, has got nurses, and has got medicine, and they have required equipment. So you can walk in there as a vulnerable person and you are able to get a service. But here we want to put it at the national level, whereby you are targeting the funds that have been contributed by the workers. So what you do and what other governments have done, and if you look at what is happening in Brazil, what is happening in the UK, the National Health Service, whereby the government, actually it becomes part of the budgetary process, whereby the government allocates some money, which is there actually very clear. in our budget that, for example, maybe 5% of our national budget actually will go to the healthcare provision. So
but even funding...
Exactly, yeah, because...
even funding, this budget is a problem. So
exactly,
where will that 5% come from?
If you want to talk about provision of social protection actually, the cornerstone of social protection, what the government intends to do is funding. So how do you actually deal with the fund? If you do not deal with the issue of the funding, then you are just coming. That's why we are calling this thing an amorphous something by SCOTU, because it is not very clear, because social protection, the foundation of social protection is at the funding level. And if you look at what the other governments have done, like I'm saying, there's what they call fiscal space within the budget, whereby you look at how can you finance the social protection, because here what President is looking at is looking at a situation whereby everybody, whether you have got income or not, you should be able to access medical care. But now, but the way it is right now, it's not actually explaining how are you going to finance it. And what they are looking at right now, the low-hanging fruit is the money that is already available from workers who are, first of all, if you look at the workers already overtaxed, if you look at your pay slip, you can see you are already overtaxed, you are burdened. Number two, in this era of COVID-19, you will see that even there are some workers who have lost income. Some workers actually are on pay cuts. So it actually is going to burden workers more than actually the benefits that the president is talking about.
And just not, not only workers, because it is going to bring actually bring more stress, if I may use that word, to companies that are feeling the effect of COVID-19. Because, one of the proposals in that bill is that employers who fail to remit the contribution, NHIF contribution for their employees, will be penalized 25%.
Exactly,
that contribution. And that is why the FKE is also saying, let's have a sit down when it comes to this NHIF bill, amendment bill.
True. If you look at some of the issues that were raised under Obamacare, was all about funding, whereby the employers in that particular, in that country, they were saying that if you are going to burden employers more with this contribution, then that means that those who have jobs, they are going to lose jobs because you are going to increase the cost of doing business. Number two, those who are on contracts or fixed-term contracts, they are not going to transit into permanent and pensionable, because it's going to be a burden on an employer to bring on board more employees. Exactly right now, like I can tell you, I know some companies actually right now which have actually negotiated with RBA just to suspend pension because they cannot afford to remitting pension. So if you are going to tell this company again, is there's a company that's already suspended a contribution to the pension scheme, that this company, it is going to start again remitting some money, because it's going to be the corresponding amount. If you are paying 1,700, it means that the employer will also be paying 1,700. So you are telling this company that you are also be going to pay again 1,700 in addition to the already stress that the company is actually suffering from. So it's something that it might maybe sound good to the president and his handlers, but it's not sounding good, and it's not practical. It will not work, because it is going to collapse, and Kenyans' money actually is going to sink in that amorphous scheme.
All right. So, Odur, we are winding up this conversation. Let me ask my director, Justina, just for a minute, because we need to take a short commercial break. So now the bill is in Parliament. The proposed amendment bill is in Parliament, and just waiting for the first and second reading, then the passage, then taken to the President for amend. Are you planning to petition members of Parliament?
Yes, it's true. We have already prepared a memorandum that we'll be presenting to Parliament, because that is a procedure. But our position is that we are opposing that bill in totality, because if you subject that bill into a public participation, probably you will benefit from getting some of the views that can actually help the bill to become a better law when it is passed. But right now, as it is, we are going to oppose it, and should members of Parliament go ahead and enact that bill, that means that like Central Organization of Trade Unions have said, we look at the available option. Number one is challenging that in court. Number two, also looking at available options that unions have always used in the past to stop oppression. All right.
Eric Odur, the Kenya Union of Journalists Secretary General, who's also, KUJ is an affiliate of the Central Organization of Trade Union, and other 45